Hello, my friends. There was a violent crime that took place in North Carolina. A young woman was stabbed, which resulted in her death. This young woman was attacked from behind while on a train. This video has been shown on TV and it's all over the internet. It was a gruesome murder and it was caught on camera. The video is difficult to watch. A woman, and reportedly she was a refugee from Ukraine, a young woman who managed to make her way to the United States from Ukraine. She was brutally attacked, and this young woman lost her life in that attack. The victim's name is Irina, and the tragic incident took place last month. So this was in August 22nd is when this attack took place. And the person who has been arrested in this case is a man with a long record of arrests. If you watch the video, you'll be shaken. It's a gruesome video. As I mentioned, very difficult to watch and very, very hard to absorb the content of that video from the train, from that attack on the train. It's just very difficult to watch. And so it has caused nationwide outrage. The video has grabbed attention of people all over the country. And the American people are starting to ask questions about public safety and law and order. You know, people have been asking questions about public safety and law and order for a long time. But this tragic incident has once again prompted people to actively talk about public safety in society. And people have started asking questions about why repeat offenders are allowed to walk free. If someone has been arrested 3 times or 4 times or 6 times or 9 times or 10 times, how can that individual still walk free and continue to commit more crimes? It's a very basic question. It's a very, very basic question, and common sense would tell you that if a person is a repeat offender, if a person has been arrested multiple times, that person needs to be behind bars. How do you even get to that point where someone has been arrested like 8 times and then is allowed to go free again? I mean, how does that even happen? How do we get to that point? So the American public definitely would continue to ask questions. And as we have seen, repeat offenders, if they are allowed to walk free, they may end up hurting someone severely and hurting someone to the extent that it causes death. And so this individual, the suspect in this case, has been charged in this brutal stabbing of the woman from Ukraine. This individual, this suspect, was arrested 14 times over the last 12 years, according to reports. 14 times arrested over the last 12 years. And it's just unbelievable. Any rational human being would have a difficult time understanding how somebody can be arrested 14 times over a period of 12 years and then still be allowed to walk free. And This person was still out and free and ended up causing extreme bodily harm to another person, which resulted in her death. A woman from Ukraine is now dead. A young woman is now dead because of this suspect who committed this violent act. And the stabbing suspect has been hit with federal charge, and so the United States Department of Justice is working on this case. And Attorney General Pam Bondi made it clear that the Justice Department will seek the maximum penalty for the suspect. And so this happened in North Carolina. It happened in Charlotte, North Carolina. So my friends, this deadly attack is raising an alarm. The American people are now focused on identifying and examining the soft on crime policies of the Democrats. That's right. The soft on crime policies of the Democrats. That's what people are looking at. And, this is something that the American public will continue to talk about going forward because, yes, there are crimes in all states, okay? But when you look at Democrat cities and Democrat states in particular, where, the Democrat politicians are on the city council, or the Democrat politicians are on the county board, or the Democrat politicians are in the state legislature, where the Democrat politicians and Democrat and left-leaning district attorneys are in charge, we see in those places that offenders are often given a slap on the wrist and then they are allowed to go free. Even repeat offenders, okay, somebody who has committed crimes multiple times, then allowed to go free in these jurisdictions that are heavily dominated by left-wing politicians and Democrats. So time and time again, offenders are arrested and then allowed to walk free. You've heard about cashless bail, right? Cashless bail? It was just last month that President Donald J. Trump took action to end cashless bail. President Trump said that maintaining order and public safety requires incarcerating individuals whose pending criminal charges or criminal history demonstrate a clear, ongoing risk to society. So these are words from President Trump. Once again, let me repeat, and I quote, maintaining order and public safety requires incarcerating individuals whose pending criminal charges or criminal history demonstrate a clear, ongoing risk to society, end quote. So coming back to the particular case that we're discussing today, this brutal attack which resulted in the death of the young woman from Ukraine is making people ask questions about Democrat policies. Now, North Carolina has a Democrat governor, and the governor's name is Josh Stein. And previously, Josh Stein used to be the Attorney General of North Carolina. And so if you go back in time and you do some research, you are going to find that Josh Stein, as the Attorney General at the time, had said that we must reimagine public safety. I looked up a report on the North Carolina Department of Justice website. It's a column from Attorney General at the time, Attorney General Josh Stein, and the title of this column was Making North Carolina Safer for Everyone. And if you look at that column, and you're going to find it, I've given you the title, you can go do a search on the internet and you will find article that you can then read, but I'm going to read to you, a paragraph from that article. Okay, so here it is. I start the quote. To achieve equity in law enforcement, we must reimagine public safety so people can get the help they need from community resources long before law enforcement intervention is necessary. We cannot continue to ask our law enforcement officers to be social workers, drug counselors, mental health specialists, and healthcare providers, all while serving as peace officers. Okay, peace officers. We're going to talk about that. So, my friends, anytime a politician says we must reimagine public safety, as Josh Stein, who was Attorney General at the time in North Carolina, he said, we must reimagine public safety. So anytime a politician says reimagine public safety, it's a red flag. It's a red flag because using this term, reimagine public safety, means being soft on crime. This is a way to say that the politicians want less police officers and more social workers. Okay? So I appreciate the work that social workers do. Social workers play very important roles in society, okay? Social workers do a lot of great things in society, but social workers cannot replace police officers. Let me be very clear. I'm going to repeat that. Social workers cannot replace police officers. And Josh Stein, in this column that he wrote a few years ago, when he was the Attorney General, Josh Stein did not even use the term police in that column. He wrote peace officers, not police officers. So, the Democrats, they always try to paint a picture of a utopia, okay? But in the process of painting a picture of a utopia, they try to take the society towards a dystopian future, okay? So police officers are police officers. Don't use the term peace officers. What does peace officer even mean? Peace officer. Just focus on the basics. Focus on the basics, the basic needs. We need law enforcement in society. We need trained police officers. We need strong and capable and intelligent police officers. Officers who can handle difficult situations. Officers who know what to do during a crisis. We need police officers. And we need police departments with adequate resources, well-funded police departments, so that they can protect and serve the public. And these politicians like Josh Stein use language such as reimagine public safety. But in reality, these Democrats, what they want to do is they just want to defund and abolish the police. This is now out in the public. The public knows that Democrats want to defund the police, and there are Democrats who want to abolish the police. They don't want law enforcement, okay? And there are many left-wing activists. They want to abolish police. And they have been trying to do that for a very long time. Left-wing politicians, people on the left, left-wing activists. They're anti-police left-wing activists. So it's mind-boggling, if you think about it. It's just shocking how North Carolina, ended up with a Democrat governor. And even before George Stein, there was another Democrat governor. It was Roy Cooper, another failed Democrat who is now trying to get a seat in the U.S. Senate. Okay, that's what Roy Cooper is trying to do. Because Roy Cooper, former governor of North Carolina, now he wants to be the U.S. senator. He wants to get a Senate seat. Okay? So this guy is running for U.S. Senate, and if you are someone who lives in North Carolina, okay, my friends, you may be listening to this podcast episode from any state. Maybe you are right here in Wisconsin. Maybe you are in New York. Maybe you are in Washington State. Maybe you are in Texas or Alabama or Mississippi and Florida, wherever you may be. Please listen to what I have to say. But if you are in North Carolina, if you are a North Carolina voter, my friends, if you are a North Carolina voter, please don't vote for Roy Cooper. Do not vote for Roy Cooper. Do not vote for a Democrat for U.S. Senate. Do not let this guy, Roy Cooper, get a seat in the U.S. Senate. That seat, that North Carolina Senate seat that we're talking about, that seat is currently in Republican hands. Okay? With Tom Tillis as the U.S. Senator. He's a Republican. Now, Tom Tillis is not exactly a Donald Trump ally. Okay? And I think if you are someone who pays attention to the news and everything that's happening in Washington, if you keep track of things, then you already know this. Tom Tillis, Republican U.S. Senator, but he's not exactly a Trump ally, but he's still a Republican. He's a Republican, and it is better to have a Republican than a Democrat in a Senate seat, okay? Given the choice between a Republican and a Democrat, elect the Republican. Elect the Republican for U.S. Senate. So Tom Tillis, in this case, Tom Tillis is not running for re-election. He is the incumbent, but he has decided to not run for re-election. So Democrat Roy Cooper is seeing this as an opportunity to capture the seat, but the North Carolina voters must reject Roy Cooper in November of 2026. So my friends, let's go back to Charlotte, North Carolina, as we were talking about this shocking case. This is, there's something else I want to point out about Charlotte. Okay, so Charlotte, North Carolina. Let me point out this shocking fact, which some of you may know, maybe others don't. I'm going to point this out. This is something that the White House has revealed to all Americans. This is something that the White House brought to the attention of the American public. There is an article on the White House website, and it is dated September 8th of 2025. And this article has lots of information about how Democrats have promoted woke policies that actually failed to protect the American public. For example, and this is shocking, so get ready for this, okay? For example, in the year 2020, the Charlotte City Council launched an initiative to reimagine policing. And part of that reimagination process was to divert 911 calls away from the police department. This is what the Charlotte City Council did. This was their priority. The Charlotte City Council in the year 2020, for those who did not listen to me the first time, I'm going to repeat, so listen to me carefully. In 2020, the Charlotte City Council in North Carolina launched an initiative to reimagine policing, and part of that reimagination process was to divert 911 calls away from the police department. So when left-wing politicians are elected to public office, this is the kind of stuff that they do. This is what they do, okay? This is just one example, and there are other examples. So, my friends, let's understand this very clearly. Public safety is the number one priority of any elected official. Whether you are in local government, whether you serve on the city council, whether you're the mayor, public safety should be the top priority. If you are in state government, if you are the governor of a state, if you are in the state senate, you're in the state assembly, if you're a state official, an elected official at the state level, public safety must be the top priority. If you are in federal government, public safety is number one. And at the federal government, we also include national defense, which is also highest priority, the highest priority, national defense, public safety. So public safety is number one, and then comes everything else. The government must keep people safe. And if Democrats are in charge, then they don't talk about public safety. They talk about reimagining policing. They talk about reimagination. Reimagine public safety. Reimagine policing. They try to replace police officers. They try to introduce social workers to replace police officers. And as I told you, in the case of Josh Stein, you read that column, he uses the term peace officers, not police officers. So, my friends, when the Democrats are in charge, they promote woke policies, left-wing woke policies. And this reimagination of policing, this reimagination process that the Democrats try to promote, this reimagination is resulting in tremendous harm in society. So it's time for the people to open their eyes and to see what is going on. Many eyes are already open. Many eyes have been open for a very long time, which is why President Donald J. Trump won the election in November 2024, last year. It was a landslide victory, overwhelming victory. Electoral college votes, popular votes. Donald J. Trump won both the electoral college votes and the popular votes. So it was a landslide victory. And, you know, it was great. But there are still people out there who are blindly trusting the Democrats. There are voters out there, they blindly trust the Democrats. No matter what the Democrats do, they blindly trust the Democrats, they vote for the Democrats, and as a result, look at what we have. Failed policies after failed policies after failed policies. All by the Democrats. Failed policies of the Democrats. So that's why I say that it's time to open the eyes and to see and to realize that the Democrat politicians in government have failed to keep people safe. In Charlotte, North Carolina, a precious life has been lost in a brutal attack on a train in Charlotte. May the victim's soul rest in eternal peace. Her name was Irina, a young woman from Ukraine, brutally attacked. And she is now dead. May her soul rest in eternal peace. The conversation must continue. It's time to make sure that any politician who proposes defunding the police, any politician who proposes taking resources away from police, any politician who proposes diverting 911 calls away from police, such politicians must be voted out of office, and any political candidate who proposes such woke policies must never be elected. The voters must reject any political figure who talks about defunding the police and reimagining public safety, meaning pushing their woke policies and replacing police officers and just complete. I mean, it's just complete left wing talking points. So, my friends, I've shared with you some very important facts. It is always my goal to share with you the truth, the facts, the accurate information, and hopefully in this podcast episode, you've learned some key information about how Democrats have been advocating for woke policies, and they have been trying to take resources away from law enforcement agencies. So, my friends, share with me your thoughts. I want to hear from you. You can go to my website, tausifanam.net, and you can send me a message through my website. You can also email me directly. My email address is tausif@tausifanam.net. You can also find me on Facebook, on Instagram, on X, and also on Truth Social, so you can connect with me on social media. Share with me your thoughts, my friends. I look forward to hearing from you, and thank you once again for continuing to listen to my podcast. I hope to be back again very soon with a new episode of Explore and Engage with Anam. Thank you.